It's time for another update on The Dragon Prince, a franchise that seems to be going strong, despite the fact that there have been no new seasons of the show released since 2019, and we are now heading into 2022. The franchise has only been giving us scraps for the last few years. Now, I hoped that The Dragon Prince would release in 2020, and perhaps my hopes were a little overly optimistic, considering what we know now, but at the time it did not seem particularly strange to believe that the show would come out that year. But it didn't, and that was fine, so I thought, okay, it'll come out in 2021. I first predicted that it would come out in March or April. March and April passed, and there was still no Dragon Prince. As I'm recording this in December of 2021, Season 4 still does not appear to be on the horizon. I assume it is going to come out eventually, because otherwise I don't think Netflix would keep pouring all this money into the show. And I don't think Netflix would be so tolerant with keeping the show around. And of course, Netflix isn't the only entity with a financial interest in this show, but that's not really relevant to this discussion, and other entities like Wonderstorm, the company that most directly produces the show, also does not benefit if the show does not actually come out at any point in time. Now, if the show does not come out next year, 2022, I am officially placing it in the same category as George R.R. Martin's The Winds of Winter, by which I mean it might come out, it might not, but I'm not going to hold my breath. 2022 is the last year wherein I'm still going to try and believe that the show is going to come out in the near future. I don't know if it will, but I think the odds are good. I think they are at least adequate. I think that there is a reasonable case to be made that the show is going to come out in 2022. Now, I know I've said that about 2021 and 2020, but I'm still holding out hope that it's going to be released in 2022. If we take the time from when the show was officially renewed in summer 2020, then that's about a year and a half from when Season 4 was announced to where we are right now, which is quite a long period of time, but it's not completely absurd that the show could take this long. Animation does take a while. 18 months is long, but it's not ludicrously long. Ahas has, if nothing else, said that the writing and recording of Season 4 has been finished for a while. But if the show does not come out at all in 2022, if we're having this exact same conversation in December of next year, that would be 2.5 years since the show was renewed back in summer 2020. And at that point, you would have to think that something has gone wrong. But at this point, though, the show seems to be taking quite a long time. A year and a half from the show's official renewal is not completely absurd, especially since it seems like the people associated with the Dragon Prince, with the exception of Ahas and Richmond, as in the actors and writers and storyboarders, found out the show was being renewed the same time we all did. But I do think that my patience, and the patience of a lot of people, is running a little thin. I'm not saying I want the show to be rushed, but if the other option is for the show to be delayed indefinitely, then maybe just putting the finishing touches on it with all due speed would not be the worst thing in the world. Now, obviously, I don't want a lot of crunch time for these hardworking employees animating the shows, scenes, and episodes. And I realize that working conditions for people like animators are not great to start with. But I am saying that perfect is the enemy of good, and the enemy of things actually being done. And I'm also saying that I was a freshman in college the last time the show aired a season, and I'm quite concerned that I might be a senior before the show is releasing its 4th season. And it's particularly baffling because there do not seem to be any reasons for the show's long production time. Usually when production keeps being drawn out like this, it's because something has gone wrong. And perhaps there are issues with the production of Season 4 that are not getting out to the public, but there is no reason to believe that is the case at this point, and I would rather not make baseless speculations. So we're left to just sit here and wait for Season 4 to come out, as we've been doing for the past going on 2 years at this point. And over 2 years if you count just the amount of time we've waited from the end of Season 3 to where we are now. And it also does not seem like the show is the only part of this franchise that's being delayed, which is part of what makes me think that there are bigger problems going on than just, oh well, animation takes a long time. Think about Blood Moon Huntress, the next graphic novel in the Dragon Prince universe, that was supposed to release in February of 2022, but then it was pushed back to April 5th, I believe. And it now seems like another delay has occurred, and the publication of the graphic novel has been pushed back to June 7th. If you combine those two delays, that's 4 months. And it also means the amount of time we've gone without even a graphic novel adding to the series will be about 2 years, going from October of 2020 to June of 2022. That is not promising for the future of this franchise. There's also supposed to be another graphic novel coming out called Puzzle House, focusing on Viren's mentor, and possibly delving more into Viren's past, which would be fascinating. But there is no release date for that graphic novel, and no real indication that a lot of progress has been made on it. And then there's also the matter of this video game that seems to be a pretty big budget affair that takes place in the world of the Dragon Prince. And it seems like they're dedicating a lot of time and effort to this video game, which is fine, I guess, but a lot of the audience for the video game is going to come from the show, and if the show does not release more seasons, people might lose interest in it. And also with the video game, I don't know how many people are going to be picking up this Dragon Prince video game, as grandiose as it might be if they're not at all familiar with the franchise. but who knows at this point. It also does not seem particularly promising that in an interview with CBR that was published back in October of this year, Aha said that they were still storyboarding, even though the writing and recording had been completed, which is not a promising sign. For the life of me, I have no idea why this is taking so long, but I just hope that there still are people who are fans of the show when it finally comes out. Which is not a guarantee, especially considering how young a lot of these fandoms are. I remember when I was first making my videos about the Dragon Prince, a lot of the people who were liking those videos and sharing them and following me on Twitter were pretty young, even compared to me. They were like 15, 16 or so. And those people were in high school when the Dragon Prince's first couple seasons came out, and they're probably out of high school now. They might have lost touch with the show. I don't think a delay of this length is anything but trouble for the franchise as a whole. And yes, it is true that fans of any show do seem to be very impatient these days. It's kind of a joke that as soon as Season 3, for example, comes out, people are always like, oh hey, when's Season 4? That they have no patience, that they're not willing to wait for the season to be developed and released. And that is true. And a lot of fans can be impatient and entitled. But after 2 years of not getting another season, I think a few feelings of bitterness and resentment are understandable. I don't think a creator has any duties to the fans. I definitely do not think the creator has any duties to give the fans what they want, or just cater to the expectations of those fans. And I think the best art is made when the basic expectations of people who just want accessible, easily digestible art are completely subverted. I do think a creator does have a duty to at least provide some measure of proper communication channel with the fans. If the show is going to take another year or so, just say that. I wouldn't be happy about that. I would be very disappointed, but I would at least understand, and I would not be constantly wondering, when's the show going to be released? I would not be left hanging like this. Just give us the truth, whether it's pretty or not. Don't keep leaving us in this limbo area like this. Aha says we're going to get more news pretty soon. I hope he's right. Let's keep our fingers crossed. So anyway, thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching The Dragon Prince's first 3 seasons, and let's hope Season 4 comes out eventually. I'm not an angry person, and I'm sorry if I sound so angry when I'm talking about this. I'm really not. I'm just disappointed is all. And quite frustrated, and I think understandably so. I was making quite a few videos that were getting quite a bit of traction when Season 3 was released, and to just have more or less complete silence on Season 4, except for a little few hints and vague indications, is kind of alienating. So let's all hope Season 4 comes out relatively soon, or at least at all. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.